get started here in about a minute or so. Just kind of letting everybody join. I know sometimes it's rushing home from work or rushing home from the upstairs bedroom or the kitchen table if you're working from home.
That's Betty.
Get started. All right, looks like everybody's connecting and we've got a couple, probably we'll still see people joining, but we'll go ahead and get started just to be mindful of your time, and thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. If you don't know me, I am Kelley Williamson. I am your plant-based kitchenista, so thank you for joining us. We do these every 2 weeks, so I try to keep it on definitely a schedule and stuff. So it's always on Thursday nights at 5:30 Mountain Standard Time. So depending on where you're coming from, it could be a completely different time for you. But thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. If you do have suggestions or you do have questions, depending on how big the group gets, we will actually, we'll kind of leave it open for a little bit, but then if the group gets a little bit larger, then we'll go ahead and mute the group, and then please go ahead and use the chat. So please ask whatever questions you want. We'll make sure they get answered. Jerry usually signals me behind, which you'll meet in a second, behind the camera. That way then I know to look over to the computer. So if you see me look to the left, that means I'm looking at the computer screen just to say, look at the questions and things like that. So happy to answer any questions. If you do have suggestions of recipes you'd like to see for other classes, feel free. Go ahead and put those in here. This is for you guys. So tonight, and before I actually introduce Jerry, we're going to be making plant-based meatballs, which are really good. And you can also, one of the things that we'll talk about is you can freeze these. So it does say it makes quite a few servings, but think about making them once and eating them many different times on many different ways. We're also going to make the plant-based meatballs on a white bean ragu with a little bit of marinara sauce. I'm giving you Jerry's famous marinara sauce because he makes it all the time for me. And then we're going to do the Italian salad. So we, of course, got to have the meal together without the pasta and have the Italian salad with it. So you kind of got to get this big Italian meal, but we'll talk about different ways. So with that, let me go ahead and welcome everybody that's just now joining. I'll go ahead and introduce Jerry and have him come up for a couple minutes, and then we will get started cooking.
All righty. Hi, everybody. I'm Jerry Casados. If you don't know who I am, I'm a plant-based nutritionist, and I am a certified instructor for Dr. McDougall's Start Solution program, which he's been doing for 40 years to get people back to health and wellness using food and plant-based nutrition. I'll take a few minutes just to tell you that on the chat window, the icon there, click that, and there's the recipes there, my website, Kelley's website, information. And I do nutritional counseling for plant-based. If you want to implement a plant-based diet, if you just try to get some tips, maybe fine-tune your diet a little bit, maybe a diet analysis will help. But I can help you with all that. And even if you have some health issues, diabetes, heart disease, we can do that with a plant-based diet. So feel free, I do a free 30-minute consultation. So if you're interested in that, please email me and I'll be glad to talk to you. Also, just a couple other plant-based news here in the plant-based community. To mention that the last weekend I saw by Dr. John McDougall had a summit. It's kind of an event that he did, a 5-hour event, and it's on YouTube. So I put the link on there, but it's about climate change and how plant-based nutrition and agriculture farming really reduces climate methane gases more than it does transportation. It's interesting. We never talk about the methane. We talk about gases, greenhouse gases from transportation, cars, and all fossil fuels, but actually animal agriculture causes 50% of the gases in the atmosphere. So it's an interesting event. There's some speakers that we know. That there's Keegan Coon, who does Cowspiracy. I don't know if you've seen that documentary, where he gets into detail about animal agriculture and how it affects the atmosphere. So I would recommend that. The link's on the chat window. Go ahead and copy the YouTube You can watch it at leisure. There's a lot of information there. Also, I want to recommend a book just came out, What's Missing from Medicine by Dr. Sarai Stanzik. She spoke at our summit 2019. She went from MS to an MS patient to wellness. She basically reversed her MS using a plant-based diet 25 years ago. She was on cane, crutches, bag of medications. She's an amazing woman, just a very nice person too. But I would recommend this book. It's on Amazon. The link's in there too. But it's a good book, and she's talking about how to educate, how do we change medicine, get people well through lifestyle changes. So I recommend that book. But also, if any other questions, please feel free to email. I'll be glad to answer. And we'll get here with my favorite, one of my favorite meals is meatball and ragu. So enjoy, and see you later.
So Dave was asking for if you could put the links back into the chat. For some reason, I'm not seeing.
There should be in the chat window.
Okay, you want to just look at that really quick?
Yep. I think if you log on after, we don't see them.
The chat window.
Yeah, if you put the information in chat before we logged on, anybody, those people won't see it.
Okay, I'll repaste.
Perfect. Hi. Welcome, everybody. So yeah, he'll repaste that for you real quick, but we'll go ahead. While he's doing that, I'll go ahead and get started. So like I said, welcome, Kelley Williamson, plant-based kitchenista. So we are going to start out. I'm going to make the plant-based meatballs because I want to be able to get those in the oven. And then I will start the marinara sauce, which is pretty easy. And then the white bean ragu, kind of get all those going. It's not a lot of work. It's one of those ones that if you think about ahead of time is doing some little bit of prepping ahead of time, that really helps you out, especially when the plant-based meatballs ask for some of the vegetables to be roasted. You could actually do those the day before, the night before, put them in the fridge, and then make them when you're ready the next day. So kind of think about different ways and stuff to make your life easy, because I know that it's like we talk about since March 13th that most of us have been home, remote work from home. And so this is what meal number, I always make up some big number, 5,366 that we've all been cooking or ordering in or something else. I just talked to a friend this morning that said, we still not picked up any cooking tips or tricks, still not going to do that. And we've just been ordering from every restaurant we can think of. And I'm like, that's a lot of meals ordering out, but hey, it's COVID, it's everybody's preference. So yeah, so I'll kind of give you some tips and tricks about making life easy, because it's not about spending so much time in the kitchen and having to do the chopping and all those kind of things. There's easy ways to get this going. So plant-based meatballs. So one of the first things that I did, and I did last night, because I didn't figure you want to sit here for 45 minutes or 30 minutes and stuff, roasting these vegetables out. So I just cut up, and I'll have Jerry kind of show this and stuff. So I have the celery, I have carrots, and I just did, you see chunks. There's onions in here, so I just did a full onion. And then there's the mushrooms. So, there's just all the different vegetables. You could actually add, some of your other favorite vegetables. So you could add some zucchini in here, just make sure you get the water out of it, whatever you like, because these meatballs and stuff could be just this kind of bountiful, bounty of just nothing but vegetables. And then you have your lentils and everything else. So this was, I said, I just left it in the oven at 350, of course, put it on some parchment paper, and then I just added some broth to it, or you can do water. It really doesn't matter. So it kind of steams, roast them a little bit, but you just want to kind of check them. And when your carrots, which are, of course, your bigger chunks, then when those are soft, then that means you're ready. Or you can actually even roast it more and kind of get a little bit of that, kind of the roasted type of taste. But I did it to where like the onions got where you can see kind of they got a little bit more roasted. And then the carrots and stuff just got to where they're soft. And there's also garlic in here. So I actually roasted up. I just pulled up some of the garlic cloves and I just put those in there and roasted it all at once. I didn't worry about, the mushrooms or anything else. They just, when you keep the water or vegetable broth on them, they roast all together well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to, just move everything out of the way. I'm going to go to the food processor. If you don't have a food processor at home, because I know some of you guys probably don't, just what you're going to want to do is you're just going to once they're cooked up and they're roasted, just chop them up, or even do that before, chop them up to as tiny of pieces as you can, but just kind of keep chopping them. And then that way, and then you can mix everything up. So you can do the same type of thing with that. Any questions yet? No? Okay, so just put it in your food processor. And I always, one of the things that I talk about is that I am not a mushroom fan at all. So if I can see the mushrooms and they're floating around on a salad or something like that, or in spaghetti, they go to Jerry. I'm not a mushroom fan, but it's on something like this, when it adds it into a meatball or a meatloaf or something like that, I'm fine with, because it gives the texture, but not necessarily do you have the taste. And I think with me, it is a texture thing, because mushrooms to me are like chewy, kind of slimy, I guess is the way I put it. So let me put this going. Taking it off. Sometimes every once in a while, you're going to have to just kind of, scrape everything down just a little bit. And this works whether the vegetables, when you're doing the food processor to mix it up, that they work if the vegetables are hot or cold. These are cold. Pull that off. I always show this. So if you've seen this before, just ignore me. But you get your food processor, you've got this hole that's on the bottom down here, which is your blade. So what I always do and stuff, so it doesn't flop off into my dish and splatter all over me, I just go and I put my index finger in that hole. And then that way, when I turn the things over like this, the blade doesn't go anywhere. So all you're doing is taking all these vegetables out. Don't worry about scraping the vegetables out to where there's not one little piece left in the food processor, because the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to put your cooked lentils in there. So when you're doing the lentils, I kept them on the stove to kind of give you some tips and tricks. I kept them on the stove for probably an hour, but I kept adding water to it, or you could add broth depending on what you want to do. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted them really mushy. So there's a lot of times in lentils, where you'll see the little round circles of the lentils, and they're just kind of a little bit al dente. I want them like almost mush, so like where you would not eat them, but they're really good in making meatballs. So they make them really sticky, and it makes that really nice binder. So here is what they look like, really mushy, before I actually put them into the food processor. So these were just green lentils. You could use red lentils. You can use, any type of lentils that you want. You just want to cook them to where there's just a lot of work to it. And look like we may need to go ahead and mute. So please use the chat when you have questions. Jerry will notify me when there's a question. But I want to make sure all of you guys can hear.
Can I use canned lentils?
Yes, you could.
That's my
So
question.
same thing, just with your canned lentils. Just make sure that, they're, because they tend to be chewy, kind of al dente, just make sure that they're mushy. So if you need to kind of keep them going, add some more water to them and make them mushy, yeah, you could use canned. We'd actually have a couple cans in our pantry. That's a good question. Then food processor. Doesn't take very long if they're mushy. So then, as you notice, here's what they look like. So those are all ground up, ready to go. So it's a very sticky kind of a mixture, which is what helps bind everything together. So just same thing, just put your finger in the hole so your blade doesn't pop out on you. Mix it into the same bowl. And this is a good recipe too. So let's say you like meal prep for the week, because I know that's really popular and things like that right now. And I actually meal prep quite a bit and kind of got out of it for a while, and then have stepped back into it. And I'll show you that here in just a second. It makes it very easy. So, like Jerry comes down and gets ready to, eat lunch or something, he can just grab the dishes, because I do them all in the glass, and he can heat it up and away you go. And he's got quite a few different selections and hummus and all kinds of good things. So let me just put this over here. All right, so we've got all the vegetables in here. We've got the lentils in here, so they're all ready to go. Then I'll go to the spices first. So all the spices, so I've got fennel. So when you're looking for things that are like meatballs, fennel is really good. So you can do the whole fennel seeds if you wanted to, or you could actually just buy the fennel that's ground. So I had the whole fennel seeds, and I decided to go ahead and ground them this time. But the last time I did this recipe, I left them whole. And it's pretty because you see the fennel seeds and they roast up really nice. So I've got ground fennel in here. I got red pepper flakes. You don't want it spicy, leave them out. But I like it. I like Sometimes I'll even put like more fennel and I'll put more red pepper flakes just to give them, they just make them a little spicy, which is really good. But if you don't want them spicy, leave your red pepper flakes out or put a lot less. And then I've got dried parsley in here, and then I've got smoked paprika. So smoked paprika, I always use, grab which one I use, which is, I always love savory spice. Sweet smoked Spanish paprika, one of my favorites. It's got this really nice, like a smoky smell versus just your regular like Hungarian paprika. So it's one of my favorites. I order it by bulk by like 4 cups every time, and then I just refill these jars, which is really nice. Put that back there. All right, so they're adding them all together. And adjust your spices. So try it out with the recipe I gave you. But what I always say when you're doing it, less is more. So start out less. So if I say like a tablespoon of fennel and you're like, not sure, go with like an 1/8 or 1/4 of a teaspoon, and then keep adding more, because you can always add more for flavor. And you can taste this because there's nothing in here that's raw, so it's all cooked. You can taste it and say, ooh, I'd like to have a little bit more fennel or a little less red pepper flake, or not less red pepper flakes, but more dried parsley. So you can do that and then add more to it as you want. So even with my recipes, I always say, try it and see what you like first. And then if you need to, if you want to come back and add some more, you can, and then you can mark your recipes of what you like. Panko breadcrumbs. So you can get the gluten-free, you can use regular panko. I know that some recipes have just used the regular like Italian breadcrumbs. I usually just always have panko on hand. So I'm going to add those in. You, depending on your lentils, if your lentils didn't get enough, not enough moisture kind of cooked out of them, you may need a little bit more panko. So up to you, and you just want to have a good texture, and I'll show you what that texture's like. But I have seen, like I've tried different lentils. I usually right now buy the Goya brand, which is always in the, like where all the Mexican food is. But if you get a different brand every once in a while, sometimes they'll be a lot watery. So just kind of play with your the breadcrumbs that you need, but make sure you don't add too many breadcrumbs, because then when you bake these up, they're dry. So it's kind of nice to have a little bit of moisture in them. So like when you're a little bit crispy on the outside and then you bite into them. So especially if you're going to make like a meatball sub or something like that with these. Okay, so they're all mixed up. So you can tell it makes quite a few. So just this recipe. So even if you wanted to, cut this back, just do it by half of everything that you have on there. Or you could double this and make a whole bunch more and freeze them. So more than likely, like tonight, Jerry and I will eat the white bean ragu, and we'll have 2 of the meatballs on top with the marinara sauce. And then what they'll do with the rest of them is I'll put them in baggy Ziploc bags or, containers, and I'll freeze the rest. And I always mark them in the freezer. And that way, when Jerry's like, he wants to have lunch, he's like, and probably tomorrow he'll do this. He goes and he toasts up his bread, he gets the marinara sauce, and then he puts this into a meatball sub and puts everything, all the other fixings, does some of the French fries that we're going to show at the end of the month, all those things. And he's a happy camper. So yep. Many different ways that you can do this: spaghetti and meatballs, white bean ragu. You can do it over polenta. So you could do a bunch of like sauteed vegetables, polenta, and put these on top and a little bit of marinara sauce or pesto. All good. So there's many different ways you can do this, which is really good. Okay, so to get this going, so we get in the oven. And then I want to show you the ragu and everything else. So consistency, just really quick. So if you notice this, so this is kind of what it looks like. And so if I roll it in my hand, seems like a little wet on the side, but it forms really nicely. So that's what you want. You don't want it where it's so dry that it crumbles. So like I said, have a little bit of moisture, because your moisture is going to cook out anyway. So fun thing to do. You've got an ice cream scoop. One of these, cheapo ice cream scoops. Turn this around. This is what makes it fun. So go in there with your ice cream scoop. Oh, so good. Pat it down a little bit, and then take it, and away you go. So you got these nice little meatballs. If you want them completely round, then go ahead and round them out. But it's kind of fun when you're doing this type of way, because it sets really nice on bread, and it also sets really nice on the ragu or the polenta that you're looking for. If feel free to do whatever size of meatballs that you're looking to do. So if you want to do them smaller and have, mini meatballs, which would be really fun, that would be another way to do it. So just kind of go through. A lot of your like really fancy, not really fancy, but I guess like diners, drive-ins, and dives, I would say is probably a good example. A lot of times and stuff, you'll see the restaurants and what they do is they like to put the flat bottom on the meatballs just because they just hold a little bit better. And if they put them on something, then they kind of stay solid, which is nice versus rolling all over the place. So I'll just get a bunch of these going because I can always cook the rest later. That one didn't come out so well. I'll do that one again real quick. Yeah, so when you get them in there in your ice cream scoop, kind of pat them down just a little bit. Give them a nice little pat. Tell them you're proud of them. Put them on there, scoop them out. Do one more of this, finish this row.
These are very low fat.
They're what?
Low fat.
Low fat, definitely. Vegetables, but like I said, if you wanted like some more green color in there, put some zucchini, put all the different flavors that you want. You could add some basil, fresh basil, more fresh parsley, all those different flavors. This is your base recipe. It's absolutely delicious, but at the same time, make it your own. Make it to your family. So I've got 3 times 4. I've got 12 here. I've got enough in here to do up to the 20 servings. So you could get a heck of a lot more if you do these smaller. So I'm going to put these in the oven. So that's what they look like so far. Yum. And I'm going to get them in the oven. So my oven's 350. And so, we're going to look at getting in there until they're cooked. So they're probably 20 minutes or so. It really is going to depend on your oven and how it all works. This one has a little bit of convection in it, so it tends to sometimes go a little bit faster. So, but that is all you do for fancy meatballs that everybody's going to love. We've tried these out on friends and family that, of course, are, nope, I've got to have everything meat and all this kind of stuff, and they love them. So it's about the spices is what it's about. So I'll put this over here. It's about how you spice them up. Another thing you can add, which is really good, is smoked sun. I had to think for a second. Smoked sun-dried tomatoes. So if you want even more of that smoky type of flavor, especially like on the white bean ragu, really good. What I recommend though on your smoked sun-dried tomatoes, soak them for about an hour before so they get lots of moisture in them, and then add them into this. Just chop them up and add them in, and they're really good. So I made some. Last time I made this, I made half sun-dried tomatoes, smoky sun-dried tomato ones, and then half of just regular. And everybody liked both. So they give you something a little bit different. All right, so white bean ragu. Let's go ahead and get that started for the marinara. I got meatballs everywhere. So white bean ragu. Yum, it is really good. Like I said, you could actually do this on a polenta. So you could do some creamy polenta, some, roasted vegetables, and then your pesto sauce. So there's many ways to do this, but the white bean ragu is actually probably one of the favorites. And the really nice thing about it too is if you don't want meatballs the next day, there's meatballs that you can eat. Go ahead and eat then. So let me look and see. There's a question. So I see two things. When we're done, can you provide the serving size and nutritional information for each recipe? Yep. So yes. So I don't have the nutritional information. I can start adding that to it. But it is they're actually very low calorie because you're eating pretty much all vegetables and some lentils. So
low fat.
Yeah, low fat. So you're probably, for 2 of them, you're probably looking at maybe 100 calories at the most.
Yeah, the beans have the most calories, and that's not much.
Yeah. So that's just for the meatballs.
No oil, so no fat.
But yes, we can, and let's see, so serving sizes. So this plant-based meatballs, so I want to make sure I answer your question, makes about 20 servings, like I said, with the size of meatballs that I did. But if you do them smaller, of course, you probably get like 40. So it makes a lot. If you want it like less, and you're like, okay, it's just me at home and I don't really want to have 15 meatballs in the freezer, then half the recipe, exactly half. So instead of 2 carrots, do 1 carrot. Instead of 2 celery stalks, do 1, all those type of things. And that'll give you exactly half of that recipe. It's really easy to do. The good thing about it is you don't have to figure out like a quarter or any of those. It's pretty simple. Especially the less lentils you use. If you just only do 1 cup of lentils, so half a cup dried equals 1 cup of lentils, you'll be good.
sun-dried?
Nope, I didn't. You can put the sun-dried. So Patty, thank you for asking that. You can, if you've got the sun-dried tomatoes and they've been soaking, or if you completely forget to soak and you want the sun-dried tomatoes in there, feel free to add them into your food processor. And then it just mixes them up even more. If you want it more chunky, then go ahead and just add them like right when I mixed everything, you can add them in. Either way, it's great. Depends on how much of that sun-dried flavor that you want. I love the sun-dried tomatoes in there. So I probably, just because I want the flavor all over, I would have probably just added them into the food processor. Make it easy. Make it easy on yourself. All right. Okay. So the white bean ragu. This is a fun recipe. So what you do is you've got regular, so you've got onions. So just regular onions, white, yellow. You could use red if you want. It's, I would say probably more stay to the white and the yellow type of onions. And then you've got a red bell pepper. For some reason in Parker, and I'm not sure exactly, in Colorado, had a hard time finding red bell peppers. It's like if there's something going on that they're not there, there's some other colors and then they're really expensive. So actually I just use the sweet bell peppers. So those are those little ones that come in the bags. So I just cut up all those and use those instead. So, you know, you can kind of substitute your bell peppers just a little bit. So all you're doing is you're taking your onion and your red bell pepper, and you can do this together. You can do it to make it easy, or you can do it separate. All you're doing is once you just chop them up into big chunks, you're just putting them into your food processor, just like this here too, and you're just grinding it up. So the mixture, you know, after it sits in the fridge and stuff, turns really pretty. Like because I had the orange sweet bell peppers, I had some yellow, and I had the red. So that's what it looks like. So it's a really nice base that you start out with your sweet bean ragu. I know it looks like a lot, but once you get the broth and things like that in there, it makes it really good. If you would say maybe if you're doing this on your own and you want to make everything together, but maybe you don't want this many onions and peppers, take half, freeze the other half, and then use it the next time you get ready to do it. Or if you make like hash browns, you could add this in there because it's just peppers and onions. So really nice way to get things going. So let me go ahead, and what I'm going to do is you could add some broth in here to get things started. Because there's a lot of moisture with the onions and things that I ground up, I'm just going to actually put them in, and then I'll just kind of gauge it. You can leave it chunkier because I know that some of you may say, well, how come you ground it up so much? You can leave it chunkier if you want. It's just when you've got beans and you got everything else in there, it's kind of nice to have something that kind of gives you more of that thickening base, which is really good. One thing too that I'll let you know on cannellini beans, when you go to restaurants and you have that, see like a soup and stuff that has a really good kind of a creamy broth with it, use cannellini beans. So white beans, cannellini beans, white navy beans and that. What I'll do a lot of times, like when I make minestrone at home, I will put the white cannellini beans and garbanzo beans or whatever else needs to be in there. But I'll take one can with the actual juice already that's in it, and then I will put it in the blender and I'll blend it up. And then I put it back into the soup. It just gives this wonderful flavor of kind of bean, but just makes it creamy and nice. And you didn't have to add anything else other than just the beans with the juice all blended up. So I do that a lot. I'll do I'll make some vegetable soups, and then I'll take one can of cannellini beans, grind it up with the actual juice in the can, and then put it into a vegetable soup, and it just adds this really nice flavor. Okay, so it's just going to start warming up. All right, so we've got that in there. We've pulsed everything up. Like I said, I just made sure it was all ready to go. And then we've got, so if it gets ready to go, then we're going to add the garlic, which I'll do here in a second. We've got tomato paste. So I got the whole can in here, the 6 ounces. It just says like right now we're going to use 2 teaspoons of the tomato paste, but I'm going to kind of play it by ear. Jerry tends to like things that are more tomatoey, even though we do have fresh tomatoes to put in there, which makes it absolutely beautiful. But I'm just going to play with it a little bit. So I'll kind of play with it and let you know if I say, if you want it really tomatoey, put 3 teaspoons. So we'll kind of test it a little bit. So let you know that. You can do, canned tomato paste. You can do in the tubes, whatever you'd like to do. I did use the cannellini white beans, but you can use white navy beans. You could use, whatever the white beans that you have out there. And I did rinse and drain them. If you are home and you've got something that's low salt, no salt, you could actually use the juice within the beans too. If you just kind of want to open it up and do that. I know some people are like, no, don't do that. And others are like, oh yeah, want to, no waste. So that is up to you. Okay, I'm just going to keep this kind of going. While that's kind of cooking, I want to get the marinara sauce going too. And sorry, I tend to be type A too, but I know I kind of go around a little bit, but I want to make sure with the time that we have and the questions and stuff that I actually show you the different recipes. So marinara, super, super easy, really good. This is one of the things that you could actually, you could make and then say start like in the morning, or you could make it the day before and then just let it simmer. And then, so like sometimes when I'm making lasagna, I'll have Jerry make the sauce because he likes to stand in front of the stove and he likes to putz with it and he likes to taste it. And then he goes and puts a little bit more in it. And it's like one of his favorite things to do. So I'm like, hey, can you make the marinara sauce? And about an hour later, I'll get the first batch. So
It's good though.
it is good. It is a very good one. I know that some say, well, you know, I'd like to add a little bit of sugar or something like that to it. We just do the straight tomato sauce. And I actually, a lot of times and stuff, will have Jerry make like a double batch, and then I'll put the rest of it in the freezer. So when I'm getting ready to make something like capellini pomodoro or an extra lasagna or something like that, then I have the marinara sauce that's all ready to go. Or, you know, you meatball subs, all those kind of things. So we've got 2 cans of tomato sauce. So just regular tomato sauce. I use like the contadina. There's different kinds that you can use. So I just dump those in there. Just get it all out. Make sure you get all the goodies. If I'm making like a big lasagna, I will do, because this I only need a little bit, I will do like up to 5 cans of tomato sauce. So, because that way you've got your lasagna, it's not dry, you've got all kind of goodies and the sauce in there, but then you also have some extra. So when you cut your nice slice of lasagna, you can put some more of the marinara sauce on top. But like I said, it freezes fast, it's good, all those type of things. So just keep heating this up because I want the onions to get cooked. All right, so we've got that. We've got diced tomatoes. So these are just baby diced tomatoes. You can actually, I drained all the juice as much off, but you can see that because it was sitting there since last night, it has some more juice. If you want to drain a little bit of the juice off, which I'm going to do real quick, just go ahead and do that.
Those are no salt.
These are definitely, so everything that we have here is that we try to use everything that's no salt. So this is just regular baby. If you wanted like less chunks, which I'm okay with it because it's going to make it really pretty for the marinara, just take like a potato masher or something and just mash it up a little bit more. If we've got the bigger chunks, because we don't have the baby ones, Jerry will get in there just with his the potato masher and just mash it down a little bit more. So it makes that right. So let me dump this and then I will answer the question. Put that in there. Tomato sauce. Contadina is the one I've used, but we've done like Palm, we've done San Marzano, we've done all kinds of different flavors. So it really depends on kind of what you're looking for. But Contadina is the one we tend to see in the grocery store, and it has a really good flavor. But I think there's another one. Jerry's used like the 365 brand, which is Whole Foods or Amazon now. So kind of your choice and what you prefer. But the ones Jerry just has shown, thank you. So here's the one that I just put in there. So Contadina, and it's petite diced, which is kind of really nice. So kind of easy to use. Good question. All right, so that's all mixed together. Just keep watching this because we don't want to burn. All right, and then one of the things that we've got is garlic powder. So you can put fresh garlic in this also. I tend to buy lots of garlic cloves, the big garlic cloves and stuff, and then I'll put them in the oven at 350 and let them roast out. And then I'll use roasted garlic. So something like, and I'll keep it in the freezer. So this was like 6 big garlic bulbs and stuff and then I broke down the cloves. And what I'll do too is I'll just kind of break off pieces and use the roasted garlic, which is really good, but it actually freezes really well. Nothing better in spaghetti sauces, etc., than roasted garlic. So just garlic powder just for quick, but feel free to add fresh roasted garlic. And then the next thing that I'm going to add really quick is because we have some basil left over from other things that we're going to be doing. I'm just going to do a quick little chiffonade, which is just basically slices, basil, Add that in. You could add the whole leaves and not even bring out a knife if you want to do that. So just mix that in. And that is it. So just pretty much, I'll show, but it just pretty much looks like a tomato sauce with a little bit of green stuff in it right now, but really good. And it smells good. Okay, so I'm gonna put this on the stove. Just let it simmer. And that is it. So you can actually, if you don't have fresh basil, just because like I said, I had it, I would use just the dried basil. So I would keep adding and add maybe a little more garlic powder, some pepper, you know, whatever you want to do, red pepper flakes, but you also have red pepper flakes in the meatballs. So up to you, however you want to do that. All right, so we've got marinara, we've got plant-based meatballs. You can have dinner just right there. You wouldn't even have to do anything else and forget the ragu, but it's really good. Okay, so that's pretty good. So it's just, you know, you'll see here as I show a little bit. It's just cooking down. It's just your peppers and your onions, but you just want to make sure your onions are starting to get translucent, so you're not eating raw onions with it. So you just kind of let it cook. And it's pretty because it's got the oranges and the reds and everything. And then, so if we're following along, because you always have to keep me honest, we said that we've got the onions and bell peppers, so the vegetables are softened. We're going to add the garlic, so grated garlic. You could go back to the same thing like I was saying with the roasted garlic and use that. I did that the first time I made this, and it makes it really, really good. But you can just, you can just use the regular garlic too. For garlic, one of the things that I always recommend, if you want to keep it easy, because there's a lot of chopping when you're trying to do all the garlic cloves and everything, is buy the garlic. You can get it pre-packaged, like Costco, different places like that have it, and it's just in water. So you can have these great big containers of garlic in your fridge that you can just dip out, and it gives you the measurements on the back that you can have ready at any moment, which is really nice. So that cooked for the. You definitely don't want to over keep like simmering and simmering when you've got garlic in here. The reason why is a lot of times like in like capellini pomodoro, and it says, that the garlic, but you sit there and just keep letting it kind of simmer and simmer, you'll burn the garlic. And all of a sudden, a lot of times when you can really like ruin your recipe, but a lot of times and stuff when garlic gets too overcooked, it gets almost really like hot. So it's like it's almost like roasted red pepper flakes or something. So that's one thing and stuff that I want to give you a tip on, to kind of watch your garlic, because it will simmer with all the vegetable broth and things, but don't overcook the garlic. All right, so we've got the garlic in there. We've got the tomato paste. So let's get that going. So I'm going to do the two. I'll start out with the 2 teaspoons. Sticky. But I'm going to play with it a little bit just to see. And if if you're using it too with the tomato paste, you can freeze it. Freeze the rest, mark your baggie of what it is or your little container, and then freeze it. And then bring it out the next time you use it, and then just keep doing that. So always good in lasagnas, everything else that you're making. So just stir that in. Gives a really nice color. It starts adding that richness of the tomatoes in there. But I'm also going to be adding fresh tomatoes. Which is going to make it even better. It just makes it, once they cook down, it's just beautiful. It's just one of those soups, ragus and stuff that you look at, and it's just beautiful. Let me get that mixed in. You want to give a good stir, because your tomato paste tends to stick together and you'll get clumps. So you just want to kind of go through it, make sure you've got everything kind of unclumped. And I'll leave that for now. So there's a nice color with the tomato paste in there. But like I said, if you want it richer, just add more tomato paste. Get going. Smells. I can smell, like if you were here, it's like that's, we always, what is it? What was his name? Emerald. Chef Emerald, when he was on TV and stuff, he used to talk about, he was one of the kind of the first chefs that really had a big show that had a big following. He talks about smell-o-vision. So you can smell it's like the onions and the peppers and the garlic and the tomatoes and stuff smells really good. So what I always like to do is after we cook dinner, especially something like this, is we go out and we walk the dogs, because you haven't heard the dogs, which is it's a good thing. And then come back in, and then you have that smell of like Italian food and garlic and those type of things. It just smells so good in the house. Or if you've done like apple pie or something like that, then it's really good. Okay, so we got the tomato paste and we're simmering. So we're just making sure you kind of want to simmer, because you want to make sure you're really kind of incorporating that tomato paste, giving it a really good flavor. They always talk about you want to make sure you cook things out so you don't have those raw flavors in that unless that's what you're looking for. Okay, and then, so we've got the vegetable broth, and then I'm going to add everything else. So I've got so we're going to add in the, and I think actually on my recipe, and I hate when I do this, you got to add the beans. So go ahead and add the beans. Sometimes I'm too fast for my own good and I forget to put things on there. I'm going to add the vegetables. Okay. Add the tomatoes because you're going to want to have those cooked down. Just regular cherry tomatoes, grape tomatoes, whatever your favorite is. Stir that in. I've got parsley, so I'm going to do a little bit of parsley. I am not, so you're going to find out like the things I don't like. I'm not a big fan of parsley. A little bit to me goes a long way. So like when you get like spaghetti comes out and somebody like drenches it in parsley, not good. I like basil, those kind of things, but definitely not parsley. So I'm just going to do just a little bit, and then I will leave some of the basil off to the side just because I'm going to, decorate it. So just do a little chop. You can add the stems in, you can pull the stems out. Kind of with cilantro, you can kind of just get it going. All right, it's just a little bit for color. And then I'm going to add the broth. So regular vegetable broth. And then I'm going to kind of eyeball it. So usually one of these containers like this, and so this container is 32 ounces. I usually get 4 cups out of it. So I'm going to go down to where I know I've got about 3. And if you want it thicker, go like 2 cups. So kind of pour it in there, start it out, and then you can always add a little bit more, stir it. I like the ragu because it's thick. So I tend to kind of probably add a little bit less just because I want it thicker, and then I want the meatballs to be able to sit on top of it versus a soup where it's going to sink in. So yeah, that was probably about 2.5 right there, just to kind of stop for just a few minutes. You could actually add basil in here if you wanted to. So let me show you. That's before it's all being cooked down and everything else. So that's you got the fresh tomatoes in there, you got the beans, everything else. But I'm going to let it sit here and simmer and because I want the tomatoes to break down. The good thing is they still hold up really nicely though. So I'll leave this here and this here. Take this out of the mess. Let me check my, wow. Let them go just a little bit longer, but I'll show you. A few minutes longer. There they are, already starting to get nice and crusty up. But if you kind of touch them a little bit, they still need a little bit more. They're still going to be nice and soft. But the nice thing about this is because a lot of times when you're making plant-based meatballs, they don't hold up well. These hold up really well. They're great for sandwiches. Jerry can attest to that. They're great on just pretty much everything. So I'll keep getting these going a little bit more. The house smells really good. Okay, so there's the ragu. Yay. All right, salad. I know most of you guys are probably thinking, wow, wouldn't this be nice to have everything like this chopped up? Yes, I agree. One of the things that I wanted to show you too really quick, I was talking about the meal prepping. So I've started meal prepping a lot. So let me just grab. So I bought these containers because I wanted the glass. I wanted to, have Jerry where he can just actually take the top off and then just heat this up. So I've made things like this last weekend. I made 2 different kind of entrees, but he's been eating them for lunch. So I did one where, let me think about this. So we did a sweet potatoes with kind of a Mexican style of vegetables over the top, spinach, etc. And baked sweet potatoes, really good. And then we did, let me grab more. I did a couple of breakfasts. So I did a granola that was homemade. I did a tofu scramble. I did a pasta. So there's a pasta dish with a romesco sauce on it. So all kinds of different pasta. This one, the new pasta, was actually a lentil pasta with some roasted red peppers in it. And it's like they always say it's like higher protein, but it's actually just easy to make and it just tastes good. It was so penne. So it was one of those new Moderna, I think, lentil pastas. Really good. I was surprised. But yeah, I do like so that's why I have like 2 of these. We end up putting like 4. So he can just pull the tops off. I did some fresh steamed broccoli that he can add more to the pasta. I've got extra romesco sauce. So the romesco sauce is really good, as I say, as I slur that word together. I did a bunch of fresh carrots. Did that because I did a roasted red pepper hummus. And then I think, yeah, I did the breakfast items, but then I just kind of lined them up. So just in the fridge, kind of like that, you just line them up. And as you can tell, there was twice as much in the fridge, and now they're down to lunch tomorrow. But when you go in, they're all red. It's just like you open it up and it's nirvana. So these are cool little dishes and stuff that I got. I just got them off of Amazon. I just looked and said, what's some of the most popular out there? And so I end up ordering, I guess my eyes are always bigger than my stomach. So I ordered like 40 of them, but I went through 20 of them, actually 2.5 boxes. So almost 30 just by preparing stuff like this. So having fresh steamed broccoli, all those kind of things that are all ready to go. Okay, so that's going, this is going nice and heated. Yum salad. So I'm gonna put everything together for you. All right, so salad, favorite lettuce. I just did red leaf and romaine. Those are easy to find in the stores right now. Turn that down a little bit because I don't want it to pop all over. So I just chopped it up, mixed it all up, ready to go. But you could do, you would do radicchio, you could do anything you want. It's your choice. Then I've got, so the different things I'm going to add, I've got cucumbers. You can do English cucumber, regular cucumber. Just added those in. Jerry's favorite. All right, and then we've got roasted red bell peppers. So these are just the ones out of the jar. So I just did a couple of the slices out of the jar because they're already roasted. But you could, if you've got a bunch of red bell peppers left over, you can find them in the stores first and got left over, roast them out, and then put them in the freezer. So I keep a lot of things like roasted red bell peppers in there. I keep basil. So like if we order, every once in a while, we'll order out for spaghetti and we'll end up with a whole thing of leftover of basil, fresh basil on it. So I will take that and add it into a baggie and add it to the freezer. And then when I'm ready to do like a tomato sauce or something, put them in there. I do my garlic, I do kale. So I do a lot of things in the freezer that's still fresh, but easy to get a hold of. I know what I forgot. So artichokes. So I forgot last night to prep those out. I would say just in a can, but I won't worry about that right now. But then grape tomatoes. Jerry got these cute little tomatoes. They're ruby rose. Looks like I got them at King Soopers, private selection, but they're really cute. They were like little tiny tomatoes. So like kind of little baby tomatoes, which makes them really, really sweet, especially in this time of year. It's like candy-like sweetness is what they say. So they were cute. So I just halved them like that, just put them kind of in half, put that in there. Make sure it's just stirring, make sure I'm stirring, make sure I'm not burning. Yes, okay. All right, and then we've got black, so we got black-headed, black olives. So a little bit or a lot, depends on how you want to do that. I'll just kind of put most of them. And then we've got avocado. Look at this already. I'll just, without even doing anything, mixing it up. Isn't that pretty? So avocado, I have it halved already. So one of the things is I'm only going to use half because it's, we don't do a lot of avocado, but we do it for some. So you got this other half here with the pit in it. If you buy these little things called, I always have to look, Avo Saver on Amazon, you can actually put the pit right there, wrap it, and put it back in the fridge. So it keeps the edges and stuff from getting, you'll get a little bit of brown and stuff, but you can kind of scrape that off and stuff, but it keeps your avocado, the other half of your avocado, as long as the pit's in there and stuff for quite a while. So I'll just put this in the fridge and use that for next time. And I got the avocado. So I'm not going to do slices. I'm just going to do little chunks because pretty much everything else I have in there is chunk. So I just go through and kind of hatch all the way through the avocado. If you're not comfortable with the knife, just put it on your cutting board and just do the same thing. And then grab a spoon, go around the edges like that, and scrape it out. If you don't want to do that, you can always pull it out first and then do the chopping. Those are looking good. They smell. You can smell like the fennel and the red pepper flakes and stuff that have baked out. It smells really, really good. In the ragu, when you're working through this too, you'll see a lot of my recipes will say salt and pepper to taste. So I tend to with, especially with Jerry and stuff, tend to like the salt on the table if you want it. But otherwise and stuff, I use like the garlic powders and things like that to mimic that salt, or limes, etc. All right, so we got the salad. What else do we got? We've got garbanzo beans. If you don't like garbanzo beans, you want a different bean, feel free. Add as little, as much as you want. I'm going to add probably about, because I put the whole can, which is usually about a cup and a half, so a little bit over that. So I'm not going to put too much in there, so it won't drown the salad. Then I've got red onion. Like that. I didn't put as much, depends on what you like for red onion. And then salad dressing. So in your blender, balsamic vinegar. I upped the recipe because I wanted you to be able to see it versus just enough for the salad. Then I've got the shallots. So a small shallot. If you don't have a shallot, green onion, scallions, white onion, whatever, that all works. It smells really good. And then we've got Grape Tomatoes mustard. You want to have that flavor. If you wanted to put something like maybe a brown mustard or all kinds of different, try different flavors, you can do that too. Grape Tomatoes gives you that really nice Italian flavor. Then you've got a little bit of agave. So for sweetener, you could add date paste if you wanted to. You could add syrup. You could add maple syrup, whatever you'd like to do. I just happen to have the agave. And then I've got ground flax seeds. So your ground flax seeds are going to add a little bit of nutty flavor to it, just a little bit, but they're actually for the thickener. So put that in there. All right, and then I'll put the lid on. Give it a couple quick. I grind up. You want to make sure that it blends enough to where the flax seeds get mixed in, because what will end up happening is when you put it into, and I'll show you how much. This is how much I make when I make it. So this is probably 5 times the recipe. The reason why is Jerry and I really like this, and we put it into these little plastic containers so you can just sort it out. If you don't get the flax seeds mixed up, it'll clog the top of the container. So I get this one that we're using, and I got this one, which is ready for the next one. So that's why I just put a little bit of plastic to keep it fresh. But we'll go through these in probably 3 or 4 weeks because we eat salad all the time. In there. So nice. Let's just see if I can show you. I'll do this. So when you let it sit, you can see that it's actually really thick. It's because of your flax seeds. So instead of having the runny, like the balsamic that just sinks to the bottom, this is a way and stuff to get the really, really nice balsamic, or as some people say, it's like crack dressing. A friend of ours, watch this on my hand, a friend of ours has like nothing but blue cheese, and then tried this and calls it the crack dressing. And now he eats only this dressing. But like I said, I make it up by a lot.
It's oil-free.
And definitely oil-free, all those type of things. And if you want it kind of more like tart, don't add the agave. All right, so let me just do. Good. All right, so we've got this in here, the salad. So I'm going to put on some gloves really quick because it's just easier to get this going. And then I'm going to start dishing things up for you guys. Get my hands wet. So hands wet and latex gloves. All right, so dressing. What I do is I add a little bit of dressing first. Then I go in there and I massage the dressing in. The reason why I massage the dressing in is because then it gets through everything, and it also doesn't, especially if you're just doing like a balsamic with maybe oranges or something, it doesn't sink that big, have that big pool at the bottom. So, you know, you're eating a nice salad and all of a sudden you get to the very bottom and it's just all the balsamics there. So it's just nice to get it all mixed up. And it also, you know, kind of breaks down a little bit of your lettuce too, which is really good, especially if you have like kale in there. You want to break that down a little bit. So I just add a little bit more. And the cool thing about it too is just that smaller dressing that I made actually gives you leftovers too, because you'll use a lot less dressing when you're massaging in. Gotta get the pretty up there like that. The way to find out if you've got enough dressing is grab a piece of lettuce. So your lettuce is going to be the one that holds the dressing, and taste it. If you think you've got enough, then stop. And then I also, like I said, I kind of doubled the recipe. So I have more than enough to make a whole nother, probably 2 more salads, which is that left over. Okay, off goes the glove. One of my favorite dressings. Love this dressing. And let's see, there we go. Looking for my tools. This out of the way. I'm going to taste. I'm going to add just a little bit more tomato paste. Mix it in. Just because it's just for home, I want a little bit more tomato, so let me just mix that in really quick.
Apple cider vinegar.
And then apple cider vinegar for the dressing. No, I haven't, but but you could still do that. I would probably leave the mustard out and do the apple cider vinegar, because you're going to get that tartness of the mustard plus this. So that's kind of what I'd recommend. But try it. Let me know. All right, so I'm just going to dish this into a pretty bowl. If this was just Jerry and I at home right now, we would just use this one. And since we're showing it, this is, like I said, a great salad add. You know, you could add all kinds of different, you know, if you wanted to add different olives, you wanted to add some, you know, carrots, like nice slices, matchstick, those type of things. You could add pretty much anything else to this and make it good. Fresh basil, fresh parsley. Okay, so there, splatter. There is, and don't add the dressing if you're going to use this for a couple days, because of course it's going to get soggy, but we're going to eat this probably tonight, almost all of it. There is your Italian salad. Doesn't that look good? Yum. Just put a spoon or a fork in that and I'd be ready to go. So there's that one. Okay, the white bean ragu. Let me just make sure the tomato paste is in there so I don't get a big chunk. That helped. That's more of the tomato flavor that we're looking for. So I'm going to add just a little bit more basil in it really quick, and then we're going to plate it. Basil just gives a really nice freshness to it. And it's pretty. Okay, let me dish this out, and then I will show you this before I put the meatball on it. All right, let me get actually a little bit of basil. It's pretty. All right, let's grab these really quick. Meatballs, see how they're nice and firm? So they brown up on the edges and things. So that's when you definitely know that they're ready. There you go. Let me grab the marinara sauce, and then we'll show you what it looks like. Big spoon. Okay, so before I put the meatballs on, there is the white bean ragu. Like I said, I added more tomatoes to it, so it would be a little bit more white if you didn't add the more of the tomato paste like I did. That. Then grab your meatballs, 1, 2, 3, whichever you'd like to be able to do. You add those to the top like that. Then you get the big spoon. You have your marinara. Get it closer so I don't spill it all over the place. Add as much or as little as you want. You've got a little bit more basil. Do a nice little thin little chiffonade cut, just because it adds the nice look and feel to it. And chiffonade, basically, when you cut it up, it's just these nice long strips like this. So kind of decorate it a little bit. You could add chives. You could add whatever you would like to decorate. You could add some pesto, broccoli pesto. All right, so there is your white bean ragu with the plant-based meatballs and a marinara sauce that, of course, is going to blend into your white bean ragu also, which makes it even better. So we've got this plus the Italian salad. So manja. And that look good. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoy the actual cooking class today. If you've got other suggestions, please feel free to add them onto Meetup. Actually, you can email me, whatever you'd like to do. Would love to hear more recipes and or more things that you guys would look at. We could do macaroni and cheeses. We can do all kinds of different things. So happy to help out and kind of be the maybe the person to help out with a few more recipes, since we're cooking 6,000. I'll go 6,362 meals already. So I know we all need it. The other thing about this 2 meal prep, put your ragu in one container, enough for 1 meal. Put a couple meatballs, put some marinara sauce, put those in the containers like that, and you could eat that for a couple days too. So definitely enjoy. Can you FedEx to? Yes. Yep. Well, you guys are in town. You can always just let me know. If you're in town, let me know. I can always make up a bunch. It's super simple, and they're good to have around, just for sandwiches, all kinds of different things. So. All right, guys, it's right at 6:30, 6:32, just 2 minutes late. So enjoy. And this is Jerry's and my dinner tonight. So sorry you're not with us. All right. Love you guys. See you in 2 weeks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
you.
We enjoyed it very much. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye, thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.